Hi there guys, so fight night on Halloween, Oleksandr Usyk versus Derek Chisora has ended in a victory for Oleksandr Usyk over Derek Chisora. Chisora did give a good account of himself and it was an intriguing fight, very interesting, but Usyk's silky skills and his game plan won out over Chisora. Chisora did bring the heat, he did bring war, but ultimately Oleksandr Usyk's footwork, his movement, his punch dexterity was just too much for Chisora. Everything that Chisora was doing, Usyk had an answer to. I think it was a good learning fight for Usyk in the heavyweight division. He is going to struggle with the bigger boys because Derek Chisora definitely gave him some trouble, especially in those later rounds, when he was surprisingly coming on quite strong, going down to the body, maybe trying to slow Usyk up, bring him down to his pace, and even make that 3-stone weight advantage make a difference in this fight. Now, in the first round, Chisora was straight on the front foot, but he seemed to be missing as Usyk was skipping away, but the Brit forced Usyk back to the ropes. But then Usyk seemed to be quite comfortable in that, but still Chisora was trying to make him really uncomfortable by trying to lean on him, rough him up on the ropes and close up on the inside. Chisora was often tying him up as well in the first round, and getting in some good work, mind you. He landed some good rights as he separated also, but Chisora was lunging in, and he did miss, but it wasn't a bad round for Derek Chisora in the first one. Then, going into the second one, Usyk was landing some lovely shots on Chisora and skipping away as he was doing so, landing some lovely left hands and skipping away. Usyk was not loading up on his shots, but he was finding his rhythm as Chisora continued to look for the power punches. He landed a good right hand on the ropes and marched forwards, but Usyk was taking the pressure quite well, and the punches he seemed like he was soaking them up okay, but you wondered if he could continue to take those kind of power punches from Chisora, and ultimately at the end of the round it was very intriguing going out of the second round. And it seemed like in the third round Usyk was starting to find his range and his distance, and he was slipping off quite easily as Chisora was missing quite a distance. I mean, he did throw a right hand that did really miss widely, but then Usyk was constantly skipping away and off of the ropes. It seemed more settled for Usyk, like he was finding his rhythm. He had downloaded the data he needed. Then it was time to switch it on, put his game plan into motion. Now in the fourth round it was kind of interesting because Chisora was at a pace where you would have to wonder, can he keep this up? We knew that Chisora was going to struggle if it was going to be like this for the full 12 rounds, although hopefully he was conditioned for it, but then Usyk was definitely conditioned for that. The game plans of the two men were starting to show. Chisora was looking for the bigger power shots to try and maybe end it with one, or ultimately just try and put a dent in Usyk, whereas Usyk was looking to stick behind his game plan and box. While in the fifth round it seemed like Usyk was kind of content to pop out his punches without necessarily looking to do any damage to Chisora. He was clearly looking to box his way, but Chisora was not going to allow him to do that, or he was going to do his best to prevent that. He was landing a couple of right hands, and even surprisingly switched to southpaw, which was kind of interesting, but Usyk did land a few neat left hands, and maybe you could sense that Usyk was looking to make a little bit more of a fight of it, as opposed to sitting back and boxing, and trying to go for a decision. Maybe he was looking to make a statement. Now we headed to the midway stage, the sixth round. When Chisora gone back to orthodox, he was still looking to land a few punches, but his output was dropping. And Usyk was starting to get a bit of emotion into his work. He was starting to find a rhythm and really flow. Chisora though did find an onslaught towards the last minute of the round, and he did try and tie Usyk up. He was trying to make this rough, make him feel the extra weight coming up to heavyweight, make it a lot tougher than any fight he's been in before, because it was clear that Chisora was not going to be able to match him on a skill level, maybe not even on a game plan level, but one thing he could do was make that 3-stone weight advantage really make a difference. Now in the seventh, Chisora's right hand was working a little bit better, but it was always Usyk's footwork that was able to get him out of trouble, and that was always going to be the issue. Usyk was the faster fighter across the board, faster feet and faster hands, better punch dexterity as well, and he always had that to call upon. Chisora did start to look tired towards the end of this round, and it was actually Usyk that was able to back Chisora up, which set some alarm bells on, to be honest. In that 8th round, the strong finish that Usyk had in the last round suggested that he was ready to step on things, but Chisora was still in there, and Chisora was not a cruiserweight, he was a heavyweight, and used to taking up more punishment than Usyk's power punches, so ultimately Chisora was still in there, and Chisora was still trying to land his punches, he was still trying to work away and find a way into this fight, which took him into the 9th round, not well, but ultimately Chisora was still standing there in front of him, and back to chasing Usyk around the ring. His energy levels seemed to be a little bit re-energized, and ultimately he was back on the front foot, and he did land a good shot towards the end, which caused Usyk to cover up. Now heading towards the championship rounds, round 10, Chisora was landing some rights to the body, and that seemed to bother Usyk in some way, and Usyk's output was maybe down on what it was a few rounds previous. Although Usyk still seemed quite comfortable in there, Chisora was getting closer. And in those championship rounds, round 11, it was Chisora who was looking to be the aggressor, but Usyk was also trying to be aggressive during these last 6 minutes. Maybe both of them did realise that a strong finish was kind of required, and Chisora was trying to work to the body to try and maybe slow Usyk down, but Usyk was still standing there in front of him. Usyk still had enough in the tank. They weren't strangers to this stage of the fight, neither of them were, but you sensed that maybe Usyk had the experience, maybe Usyk had the engine, the skills, the abilities to take him the way through the rest of the fight. But of course, that did not stop, that did not even deter Derek Chisora. He went looking for Usyk in the final minute. He was looking to land those big power punches. He was working down more to the body, which maybe he could have tried to put in a little bit earlier into the fight, but then Usyk's movement was just so good in those early rounds. But Chisora was starting to look to the body and maybe try and slow Usyk down to his pace so he could land some of those power punches upstairs. And then we got to round 12, and Chisora was looking for one monster punch to win this fight. Usyk though was ahead, probably on points you would think. Chisora was landing some rights on the ropes, but Usyk was still moving incredibly well and had a great engine in that championship round when it was most important. Usyk always seemed to have an answer to what Derek Chisora was doing. And then what we expected came. Oleksandr Usyk wins by unanimous decision, 117, 112, 115, 113, 115, 113 to Oleksandr Usyk. I mean, Derek Chisora gave a great account of himself, and Usyk definitely had some sticky moments in there, and you can see that the move up to heavyweight is going to cause him some trouble when he gets in there with the likes of maybe Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. This wasn't an easy night for Oleksandr Usyk. Chisora made sure of that. But guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.